has been an honor to serve as Stewardship Chair. I think most of you know me, Kathleen Dunlop. You might not recognize that I go with a few of the children who are here today, so Zoe and Nate, stand up where people can see you. And my third child, Sam Kaufman, you heard from at the start of stewardship this year. He's at Oberlin, maybe watching on YouTube this morning. So I'm going to close us out this year with a final stewardship appeal. And since this is my third and final year, you don't have to avoid me at coffee hour anymore. I won't be the one twisting arms next year to get people up here to tell their stewardship stories or their Hitchcock stories. But what great stories we've heard, right? I love every year hearing what brought people to Hitchcock and the many, many reasons that they stay. And over again, it comes back to the welcome that they receive here at Hitchcock. And what could be more welcoming than warm croissants and coffee while we have church service? Please go ahead and start eating as I speak. But it's not just this welcome that we get from Hitchcock, as wonderful as it is, but I'm talking about a radical welcome. And what do we mean by radical welcome? I did look up the word in the Oxford English Dictionary, and it comes from the word for root in Latin, and it's a really thorough welcome. It also, of course, starts with Jesus, who might be the original radical for us Christians. He said, everyone is precious in God's eyes, everyone, and that's pretty radical. And if you wonder how that teaching comes to life at Hitchcock, may I refer you to some of the greatest hits, at least for me, of Pastor Pete's sermons, such as Inherent Value from October 2023, or his MLK Jr. Day sermon at the Interfaith service, where he had to pinch hit for Kelly over at the Congregational Church, who was ill that day. Or Catherine's sermon in the summer in August on the importance of words, and the words were those of Paul, which sometimes some of us struggle with. And then we also welcome clergy of other faiths to our pulpits sometimes, and that's pretty radical. Like when we had Rabbi Shira Milgram here, she preached from our pulpit when we joined with Kolami to welcome refugees from Afghan in our midst and settle them in our community. Christians and Jews coming together to welcome Muslims to settle here in America, and that's wonderfully radical. So since this is my last stewardship talk, I haven't actually told my story. And so I thought I would tell you today what brought me to Hitchcock. I grew up Presbyterian, was baptized, had confirmation, attended Sunday school, taught Sunday school, went on youth retreats, the whole thing. And then I met a really nice Jewish boy. That's Jason, you've met him, and we've been married now for over 20 years. We agreed back then, before we got married, that everything from our wedding ceremony to how we would raise our children would be a celebration of both of our traditions, that we would expose our children to both religions, raise them in both communities, and be careful never to undermine the other. And then life happened. We moved to London, then to Shanghai, then back to London, and we had one child in each place. Living our intention while moving around overseas wasn't as easy as we thought. We attended services at Christmas and Easter. We went to the Jewish high holidays. We hosted Passover Seders for other interfaith families. But religious communities that really went out of their way to be accessible to us, that really wasn't a thing where we lived. So when we moved back home and settled in Scarsdale 10 years ago, we knew we had to get serious if we wanted to live up to the concept of l'dor vador, passing down the scriptures and teachings from one generation to the next. Please eat, because I still have a little ways to go. Attending Hitchcock during Lent that year in Scarsdale was like a warm hug from my parents, who had passed away the year before. The hymns, the Lord's Prayer with debtors, the thought-provoking but always inclusive message from the pulpit even made Jason feel welcome. We enrolled all 3 children in Sunday school here. We came out for the carol sing, the Easter egg hunt. But as each child reached 4th grade, we moved over to Kolami so that they could attend Hebrew school and start their preparations to become B'nai Mitzvah. Sam then continued on at Kolami and became a director of the youth group there, then did his internship at Hitchcock, and now he attends Sunday worship whenever he's home from college. especially when Catherine's preaching. And Zoe and Nate decided this year to come back to Hitchcock for youth group. So it's great to have options, right? But it's not really a choice of either or. They just move seamlessly between these two very welcoming spaces. And that's exactly what Jason and I hoped for, even if we couldn't imagine 23 years ago what that would look like. It looks like my children running through these halls, and those of Kolami, hopefully not knocking you over, acting as if they own the place. It looks like Sam going on the civil rights trip with Kolami and with Hitchcock, and having both congregations claim him as their participant, and then speaking from the bema and from our pulpit about his experiences in Alabama. It's Nate choosing to attend stewardship breakfast today instead of his soccer game, because what could be better than a Jewish kid eating bacon during church? Radical indeed. So that's the story of my family's radical welcome that we found at Hitchcock. What's yours? And because this is a stewardship appeal, what would you give to make sure that Hitchcock can continue to extend its radical welcome to you and to everyone? Thank you.